Welcome to Worth Your Time with your hosts from the nationally syndicated Bob and Tom Show, Kristi Lee, and the president and CEO of the Indianapolis Zoo, Dr. Rob Shumaker. Our mission to inform, entertain, and educate with guests from all aspects of life. We guarantee there isn't another podcast that features two hosts with such different backgrounds and discussions with remarkable people doing exceptional things. So let's get started. Here are your hosts, Kristi Lee and Dr. Rob Shumaker.
Kristi Lee, we are back. Phenomenal guest today, Lisa Dahl.
Yes.
If you did not listen to episode 1, please do that. The background and the description of Lisa Dahl's, and this is a phrase that I'm taking from something written about her. The description of her restaurant empire is absolutely worth a listen. So please do that. And Lisa, thank you so much for being with us. We sure appreciate it.
Oh, I'm so honored, more than words. I love being with you both.
You're so sweet. She's a spiritual goddess, I'm telling you.
It is spiritual goddess, or just goddess. You have to say spiritual,
Yeah,
just
no,
goddess.
it's spiritual,
Spirit
but
goddess.
you're making me
Here's
rise to a higher occasion, that's for sure.
Okay, but speaking of that, when you say spiritual goddess or goddess, there's something I picked up on that I find really tremendous when you describe your work and your restaurants and your philosophy. Now, please correct me if this isn't accurate, but I frequently hear you talk about sensuality, and particularly female sensuality. You use terms about romance and desire, and I know there are some people who do that just because they like the sound of the words or they like the feeling it evokes. But it's so meaningful when you use those words because the actions are so clear that you're following that. Am I off base, or did I take that meaning well?
I think you took the meaning well, but quite honestly, it's still a mystery to me in many ways is why I want to do that. I mean, I can't just tell you that that's a premeditated situation. When I walk into a space and a restaurant space, it's like it's telling me what it wants to be. And this is something that I think about because I see people will more or less jam concepts into places that become available as if they're not always taking in what the bones of a place want to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I hear that little voice. I don't analyze it, but I somehow must be opening my own portals to allow that to come through me. And for whatever reason, I feel that sometimes that's my co-pilot, Justin, my son, saying, "Mom, no, you need to change these chairs, or you could do this." Who knows? I'm very blessed, and I don't take it for granted that I do have guidance, and I do see little pictures. I hate to disappoint people out here. I have not started meditating yet. I call it like daydreams. Mm-hmm. And God only knows what I'm processing in my subconscious in my sleep. But I do. I see like little vignettes. And it's funny because Scott is here and he's laughing. It's like, yeah, she gets an idea every 30 seconds. It's a pain in the you know what.
Scott is Lisa's husband.
But I do. And I get on something and I can't get off. So one thing about me and my process is color. Color drives me. And I live for color and creating scapes. And when I see those pictures and start to work, I believe it could be almost in the ethereal realm where the restaurant would tell me what it wants. Give you an example. My first restaurant, Dahl and DeLuca, soon to be 30, is an old Sonic burger. No one would know it. In a million years, no one would know it. When you look at that restaurant online and you see those stone columns, those were the drive. Those were the things.
I was going to say, do I get to drive up?
And so it is. It's funny. People can't believe it. Now it looks like ancient stone columns. Well, that came to me. I fell in love with this idea when I was early on when I went to Orvieto in Italy. And there was all these stone, there was a lot of interior stone as well as exterior, of course. And the stones fascinate me still to this day. I went into this restaurant that was like a rope factory, and it had all this stonework. And I came back, it's like, what if I bring a little bit of that? So I found the artisans that would do it authentically. I hate a faux anything like that. And created archways that are now part of, that it's kind of new world, old world wrapped into one. But early in D&D, people would come in and they'd say, I don't even feel like I'm in Sedona. And it's like, Sedona is so beautiful, but yet it told me that I have given them a completely, like they walk in and their experience is totally unexpected.
As is the food. So do you take all of that feel and color and texture that you're talking about with the restaurants, and is that why and how you create the dishes that end up on my plate?
Exactly. And it's the food has to be the center of the plate. You can't minimize that. You can have a gorgeous restaurant and lousy food. You can have a gorgeous view and mediocre food.
Sure. So
the food is always the most important thing. But how do you wrap that environment is like an homage to where I, as a self-taught chef, am trying to give reverence to places that I've either been or haven't been, but I have somewhere in some type of an astral travel or something, because I do have a feeling for regions I've never been, but yet I have a sense, like I've never been to Sicily, but when I create Sicilian-inspired pizzas or pasta, seafood dishes, it's like I'm bringing it into my soul. It's a really weird thing to try to express, and no one's ever asked me that, so I'm very honored that you did, because I get to travel. I guess that's what that creative thing that never dies in me is, that always wanting to create new things. But the two things dovetail together. The cuisine, which I'm very loyal to who I am. I am not the greatest chef in the world, and I'm honored to be a self-taught chef, because I have learned and grown every day that I'm in a kitchen, and every day I am almost in a kitchen at one time or the other. I go to all my restaurants and try to help us to continue to evolve. I like the spontaneity of the creation, where you don't take a picture of something and try to mimic it and make it come out exactly. You let the flow. It's like I tell my young pizziolas, let it come through your hands. Let it be whimsical. Don't cookie cut and try to put this and this all in this little neat and tidy little way. Let it come through, because that's your creative canvas in that moment. And that's how I believe. And I am not real fancy. I don't really use tweezers. Every once in a while, we buy more damn tweezers in our restaurants and we lose them all. Tweezers everywhere, and what the hell, you could never find one. So your fingers become your little tweezers. But I believe in beautiful, artful plates. And I believe in that people are only going to stay inspired if you allow them to have their own creative spontaneity in that. So I love when I see that. We start with an idea. We're going to put these beautiful, fresh beets and goat cheese and sprinkle it on this, but then you make it your own. Of course, we like to keep our proportions and things somewhat in place, but it's just a creative aspect of my life that I don't know if I'll ever outgrow it. I mean,
So you've always
think
been
about
a chef? You've always cooked?
No, I've always cooked. I started cooking really at a crazy young age, even though my family didn't understand it. And back in my earlier days here in Indiana, I wanted everybody in the world to be a vegetarian. I am not a vegetarian now. I am probably more vegetable centric than any other part of my diet. But I love vegetables. But I thought, oh, let's not eat any more bacon or chicken or anything. I was excommunicated from my family. Nobody wanted to talk to me. But I started creating like veggie burgers as an alternative to a hamburger. Now, that's very common these days. When I was really young, probably about 17, I had my lentil walnut legume burger that I created. And of course, back then it had a lot of cheese and all that. But now I have my hipster burger in my burger place. And it's the same formulation, but no dairy, no gluten. And it's very natural, but it's the essence of that I've just evolved over the years. And, you know, sometimes when people say it's the best veggie burger they ever had, it's like, oh my God, I've been making this like for 50 years, probably
Wow.
50 years, you know.
Your husband says something in the documentary about you don't even use a spatula, which I found fascinating because as a bad cook, that's like my only tool. I don't know how to use anything but.
Oh,
So
that's funny.
when I heard him say that, I went, oh my gosh, it's worse than I thought. What would you say to someone like me who wants so badly to be able to cook, but I don't have it in. I have to look at a recipe and I have to, count it out and measure it out.
Well,
And
that is a huge question and really fun question because it's an oxymoron for me. I say cook from the soul, and you know my mantra is when you cook with love, you feed the soul.
Right.
And that's very important. That it's not just shoveling food down your trap. You know, I mean, I want you to retain that. I want that to sustain you. I want it to be meaningful because we have so much in our country in many respects, and many of us do. But there's so many people that are starving in the world and in our country and in our own little community. So I think just eating to eat is gluttony, to be honest. And when it comes to cooking, I think it shouldn't be cerebral. Now, baking is more cerebral, and I bow down to pastry chefs. I work with my pastry chef every day. Like if your baking soda is off, you're going to have a chemical reaction. But when you own restaurants and you don't have somewhat formulas to stay within, then that's also not right. People look at like, where's the recipes? You have to have them. But at the end of the day, I think, and this is how I feel when I write my cookbooks, is you need to use your sensory. You need to know why. And you need to let that be part of what develops your own style. So I can give you the perfect mother sauce, my marinara.
oh, I looked at that the other night. Yeah.
But
Ooh.
you still have to use your own palette. You have to look, is my color changing? And when I speak to people as I write these cookbooks, which I do believe is guided, is look for when the color is changing. Look for when you can see, for instance, in that recipe, the peppers taint the oil and it's a beautiful rustic color. Then you know, put the tomatoes in, add the garlic. You're sensing that. You can't
In
follow
7
everything.
minutes. Yeah,
like,
right.
No, I don't.
Right.
When they told me in my last cookbook, I did have a food editor to some degree, and she said, well, you need to give a time frame. I'm like, time frame? Your time frame is how does it smell? How does it, what's the color look like? Are things caramelizing as they should? There's so much, but time frames, fine. But you have to know, and what we say more in the restaurants every day in the kitchens is, why are you not tasting it? I mean, this is a ridiculous thing. People get on their lines and they just assume that everything is fine. And it might not be.
Mm-hmm.
We need to instill in our line cooks and our young chefs, taste before you just go forward and make your pretty little picture on the plate. So it's ongoing education that's going on all the time. But I love taking what I do in restaurants and teaching that magic to home chefs and cooks, because I see people almost break down with joy when they realize what their favorite thing, why they couldn't get it the way they want.
Yep.
It's usually a very simple thing that they're missing. And I say, I just think that's fascinating that you feel that you need to follow it to the letter.
Oh, I am. My daughter, who's 27 now, she can throw it, but she's real artistic and creative. And so
Yes.
to her, it's just, well, why didn't you do this? Or why do you, I don't know. I didn't even think it wasn't in the recipe.
Yeah.
Rob, are you a cooker or an eater?
Both. I think it's fair. I think my family would agree. I'm the one who loves to cook at home.
Really?
Yeah.
More than anyone else. And my daughter's probably second. And I'm really glad you asked me that because, Lisa, when I hear you describe all this, at least to me, it's very simple in the sense that when you make wonderful food for someone, I don't think there's a better way to express how you feel about those people.
Yep.
Exactly.
Um,
Yes.
And I love the fact that you are doing that, I think fair to say, to strangers. I mean, people who are coming in, you are expressing how you feel about them and how you value them through your food. And to me, it's such an enormous gift to people. And it's such a loss that so many people don't even try anymore. So many people don't even try and cook for the people they care about.
That is
I just
sad.
really admire that.
Yeah.
Thank you. These questions are so compelling to me because they make me very introspective on why I do things or why I feel the way I feel. I think that I discovered very early on that if you make something incredible for somebody, it's like a bonding, just like you're saying, it's like a little gift of love. But maybe that's my way of doing it. There's other ways that people express that bonding through art, through many other ways.
Of course.
But I
Yes,
do
of
feel
course.
that the cooking, it became apparent to me very early, way before I ever envisioned having restaurants or being a restaurateur, was a way that connected people in a very soulful way. After my son was killed, I have to say, and this kind of brings tears to my eye, I recall my first Thanksgiving that we weren't going to be sitting at the table. And I remember that loss and how a piece of me that I had always considered Thanksgiving, my favorite holiday, we all come together and it's interactive and it's the most normal of our holidays that we
I
have.
agree, totally.
And it's not commercialized.
Yep. It's all about family and love.
It is. And when I realized the enormity of that holiday, as well as others, I have to say that will be one of the hardest things for anyone that loses a child or a family member, a parent, is how are we going to do it now? And that was a ritual that was, and still to this day, was and is my favorite. So I felt selfish, but it's like I'm going to recreate what I don't have physically at my table for a bigger table. Just remember early on in the restaurants feeling a sense of somehow creating those perfect expectations for others. They were coming to our restaurant to have Thanksgiving. And that instead of me laboring in my own kitchen, I'm going to labor in the kitchen of my new restaurant and try to create that type of familial experience vicariously coming through me to them that somehow took my heart and my mind away from my loss. And that's always been like I'm the behind the scenes dream creator for others that also in a strange way is selfish, because if I dwell on that, then I'm not dwelling on my own feeling of loss. And through Mother's Day, through these holidays, anyone that has gone through a loss like this will have to deal with that. How do they get through that? What is their portal to be able to get through those things that we've always held sacred, is to give to others and get out of the way of yourself. Now, that could be some psychiatrist or psychologist could say, well, that is absolutely not the right way to do it. But guess what? It's got me this far in my healing journey. And it also is so reciprocative because good begets good. And that's where, even like with my newly founded foundation.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that coming
Yes.
up. First of all, before we get to the foundation, let's go to tagging this segment of the show with your cookbooks. Because, okay, once again, that first cookbook, not to take anything away from the second one,
First,
but that first cookbook is probably one of the most unbelievable cookbooks. I read it, I'm not joking, cover to cover. It's absolutely gorgeous. The photography in it, I'm kind of like you. I was not born in Italy. My stepfather was Italian, but I spent time I've been there 2 or 3 times and I love it so much. I think in a past life, I must have been Italian. So I want to cook like that. I want to live like that. I really want people to understand that this isn't just a cookbook. You could tell that this cookbook was from your soul, that it was a labor of love, and it is on every single page of that book. It's called The Elixir of Life, by the way. I should at least say that.
Kristi, the things that you say to me on this level are just there. It's exhilarating from the standpoint that you just received the book not too many days ago.
Right.
And you read it kind of like a novel, like a story of my life. As I say over and over, cooking is part of my DNA, but it's such a cathartic and healing process for me. But I struggled with being recognized as one of the chefs in my first restaurant. My significant other at that time was known to be the chef.
Oh.
And I had the title of sous chef, which to this day I think a sous chef is more important than the executive chef on many levels. But in that hierarchy, in that day, back then, the guy was the chef that everybody said good evening to and thank you for this wonderful meal. I was a woman chef, half the time covered in sauce. He had a very starched white, always looked so handsome, very Italian, very dark-skinned, and no sauce on his chef coat. But yet they would walk out over and over and say good night. They would say good night to both of us. I want to make that clear because by day I'm working in the kitchen from morning till night, quite honestly, and then I'm a hostess at night saying good evening to our guest. He would stand there and they would just say, that was such a wonderful meal. And my heart was breaking because I felt I am putting so much love into this food and they're seeing through me. And so during that transitional time when I was fortunate over a period of time to buy my partner out, I decided, and I was told this ethereally, I'm serious about this, it's time to write your cookbook. And as I did, I never went into anything negative in my oppression, but I was able to express the foundational things that I did that live on to this day, of course, that made the food what the food was. And that's why I call it the mother sauce. And the title of the book is The Elixir of Life. That's, to me, that title is, I see it as a movie. Because the elixir of life, how do you interpret that? What is your elixir of life in what you do? It gives me goosebumps to this day because I feel that the title was shown to me, and it was shown to me also in Italian, L'Elixir di Vita. And I never, as much as I love a romance with food,
Which is her second cookbook.
takes on a journey of its own.
Right.
And again, through travel and through how that travel it impregnates us with sensory ideas that we don't know, but we can take them and interpret in our own way in our own kitchens through those experiences that we have through travel, wherever that is. But both books feed each other. But the Italian book is like it's like my Bible. And when other people say, I hear your voice and you show me how to get the results, that's the most gratifying thing that I live for. I must say, it's the highest compliment I can receive.
Well, you did it. You did it, and you did a beautiful job. In fact, I'm tearing up, and I just met you. Oh, my God. But the other part of this story that we haven't gotten to is your foundation and how you are giving back to the community of Sedona. And I think this all gets wrapped up in a big bow with the soup. And you want to talk about your soup?
Yes, thank you for that. Well, I want to say that I have created a foundation, a non-for-profit, and it's a thrill to me. But I had always been able to give philanthropically in a way that I never would have thought was possible had I not gotten into the career of being a restaurateur. Early on in Sedona, people then and now 30 years later want you to, of course, give to this foundation, give to that. There's so many. Every community is filled with that. And that felt so amazing to me that all of a sudden I had something I could give. Back then it was platters of food or different things that come up, honestly, every day. I mean, we get at least 100 a day. But it wasn't under the umbrella of the foundation. And so after all these years, we finally have our status for a non-for-profit. And I believe that soups are the magical elixirs that can heal the soul. They heal people that are recovering from illness. They could, honestly, the soup that I've developed called Soup Hope, the universal soup of love, it's right now in engineering to become hopefully bottled and hit retail so that we can start to give on even a grander scale. So yes, I give not only in Sedona, of course, throughout Arizona, throughout the country. People from outside the area have asked me to be involved. So whenever I can cook and help a community, I do culinary events, go and demonstrate the soup and feed sometimes 1,500 or more people at different events, Palm Desert Food and Wine, Santa Fe. And I'm always trying to have a soup that will nourish people on a more deeper cellular level than just what is the trendiest thing that's going on now. So I'm starting the Soup Foundation under that name, Soup Hope, under the Lisa Dahl Foundation in honor of Justin. And we want to get that soup jarred, bottled, with the story on the back. And it's just now taking on a life of its own.
Oh, I wish you all the luck on that project.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
Thank
that
you.
is great. Dr. Rob, are you back with us?
I am sorry about that.
No.
Hey, can you help us remember where we can watch your documentary and what the release date for that will be?
It's being shown right now in the Heartland Indie Short Films Festival, and that's what brought me back to Indianapolis. We have not got a portal to being able to just watch the documentary yet, but that's forthcoming, along with the foundation where we'll start to do film and feast events and things like that to bring in money to serve the communities at large. But in saying that, it's not publicly available, but it will be, I'm sure. Yeah. We've been in several film festivals. At this point, this is only our third. We hope that there are more to come, but this was meant to be because Heartland, and I'm from the Heartland, this is a connection, and Indiana is a huge heart. There are so many charities that I've heard about just being here that have inspired me with so many different ideas for the gardens, because one of my pillars is Justin's garden. And that I see demonstrated here, and now I see how we can grow that concept. That is to eventually teach people to hopefully getting them out of their terrible situations, what they've been through, suffering, and trying to rehabilitate themselves. There's nothing that can restore that like getting involved in working in the earth and planting and harvesting and then cooking what you make, which is my ultimate goal with young chefs and people, young or old, that would just like to really find their calling in the way that it's helped me in my life, which is being a salvation to me, to be able to immerse in making people happy and giving service through pursuing passionate food and culinary is my life.
Well, you've done a wonderful job with it. It's just an incredible honor to spend time with you, and we wish you all the luck in the world. Heartland Film Festival did bring us our wonderful guest, Lisa Dahl, and we thank her. We thank Amy Pozak for making this possible, Scott, her husband, and everybody involved. It was such a pleasure. Dr. Rob, any final thoughts?
I need to get to Sedona. That's my final thought.
I know.
And Dr. Rob,
Me too.
I sent Kristi Lee my 2 cookbooks, and I want to send them to you, of course. You are the cook
I'm
in
waiting.
the family,
Yeah.
the chef, and I hope that you will be inspired enough that you won't just stop in Scottsdale and you'll drive 1.5 hours north, my dear, on the new highway up to Sedona, and let me spoil you both in my own way.
You're so sweet.
I really mean that. I mean it from my heart. But the cookbooks are coming, my new friend.
Oh, thank you so much.
And I mean it from my I mean it from my heart. I would like to be spoiled at one of your restaurants. You can take that.
No,
this is
not
the
one. Not
see,
one.
This is the first. Yeah, this is the first podcast we've done where I'm ending it hungry.
Yes,
that has not happened.
I
in another
know.
podcast.
Correct.
I can't wait.
Oh, I love it.
Lisa, you have just been what an inspirational and affirming, and your resilience and your incredible fortitude is just an inspiration. So thank you so much. I leave this conversation feeling full in a whole variety of ways. Really, really fantastic. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. And your questions, both of you, really were they were equally inspiring to me, because they allowed me to go back into my own soul and really revisit my journey in a way that hasn't happened through a podcast. You're both come from your heart, and you're so mindful with the questions you choose. It really, this was a lot to me. I'm really honored.
Thank you. That means a lot
More
to
Thank
me.
you so
words.
much, Lisa.
Yes.
Thank you again.
And we are so glad that you could all join us for Worth Your Time. We'll have many more guests coming, right, Dr. Rob? I don't know how we're
You
going to
got
top
it.
this one.
I know it's a good one.
Yes.
Thanks so much, Lisa.
Blessings to you both.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. And you're on.
You've been listening to Worth Your Time with Dr. Rob Shumaker and Kristi Lee. If you like what you hear, please give a review wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to tell your friends. Word of mouth is the best compliment. Thanks to our producers, Chris Spangle of Leaders and Legends, LLC. You can reach him at leadersandlegends.net. Also, thanks to Sophie Ritz. I'm Christopher Geisen. Thanks for joining us.